Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. In this video I'm going to talk about the materials to be discussed for week 3 of ULAB 21-22. So we are going to discuss some parts of Unit 7 of the book English for Academic Writing. As you can see, first we're going to talk about evaluating information in texts, then we will talk about identifying the strengths and weaknesses of the text. Well, let's start. About evaluating a text, we say that the information that is presented in a text must be worth reading. That means the writer will have to be careful about the information that he is going to include in the article, in the essay. And, the reader must, let's say, trust the information that is presented there. There are some elements that we use to evaluate, let's say, the validity of this information, to evaluate the information that is presented there, and to evaluate the strength of the, let's say, essay. So let's talk about some of these elements. As you can see, one of them is the audience that the texts are meant for. The writer has to first of all, as we have discussed before, has to identify the audience, because as we discussed before, this can affect the content and the language that is used. We say the language and the subject matter should suit the audience. Like, for example, the language we use when we are addressing, for example, children is certainly different from that of, let's say, the adults. So this is what we mean. And also the subject, we need to have, let's say, you cannot talk about the problems in the economy, the problems in the society to the children. And you cannot, let's say, talk about some, some things about how to be amused, about some of the, entertainment and things, and address the adults. So this is what we mean by the language and also the subject matter. And we say another issue is the suitability of the subject matter to the needs of the reader. Now, we sometimes realize that, well, of course, the subject itself generally out of the context is suitable for this, for example, audience. But probably at that time, it's not suitable. Like, for example, if you talk about the problems that people used to have before, for example, we had cars, before we had, the internet and computers and things, to the adults, well, yes, of course, the subject is generally appropriate, but probably for this time, it's not suitable. So the subject must be appropriate, generally for the audience, and also it must be important and interesting and suitable to the audience. Another element that we have is authority of the writers in writing the text. What we mean by this is that the writer must be professional. The writer, must be well educated, must have enough information about the subject that he is writing. And this is what we mean by the authority of the writer. And objectivity of the text. We have again discussed this earlier. We say that the text of an academic essay must prove to be objective. By proving to be objective, we mean the writer is not allowed to express his own personal opinions. If he does, he must support the opinion using some factual information. And as you can see here, we say the writer is not allowed to take sides. That means to be biased towards the subject. So that, for example, it causes the readers or the audience to disagree with them. The final element is the quality of the work. Well, the quality of the work itself includes some other elements. One of them is the methodology that is used. By methodology, we mean the method of doing the research. Like, for example, how you collect the information. We have different ways of collecting information. Sometimes you do a research and then, let's say, you give questionnaire to a group of people. Then based on the answers that you receive, you analyze the answers and the information, and then you come upon conclusion. Sometimes, for example, you observe a group of people, and based on your observations, you, let's say, collect information. Sometimes you do an experiment, like, for example, in a laboratory. So there are many different ways of collecting information. Methodology is, let's say, the same thing. That means how you collect the information, what information you bring, and it's important actually for the writer to inform the reader and the audience about the methodology, because that adds to validity, let's say, the validity of the information. When as readers we realize that, for example, the information has been collected from an authentic source, then we can trust the text and the information more. We have the reliability and the accuracy, which can, let's say, go back again to methodology. So once we're sure about the information that has been collected, we can rely on the text, we can rely on the information, and we can make sure that the information presented is accurate. We have the significance. That means, once you decide to write an article, you must first think about the significance. Is it really an important subject? Is it an important matter that is, let's say, worth listening to, that is worth, let's say, reading about? So the significance is also important. And finally, we have the recentness of the information. Well, this can be also kind of the same as the significance. When you're talking about a recent issue, a recent, let's say, problem, like, for example, these days, that COVID-19 is a current crisis. It is something that a lot of people, almost everyone, focuses on that. Well, every day there might be, for example, news, there might be new articles that people are interested to follow. So this is what we mean by recentness of the information and also the significance. So, and about the strengths and weaknesses of the text, which is subject of this slide, we say the strength of something is measured by how far things can be done with it. When we talk about, let's say, the strength of an article, saying that whether the article is strong or not, we have to, first of all, think about the purpose of the article, what the purpose is, and then, based on the information presented, we need to decide whether the purpose has been achieved or not. If the purpose is good, if the purpose is suitable to the audience, and the information presented and discussed in the article, let's say, are suitable for the purpose, they meet the purpose, then we can decide very generally that the article is strong. Well, when we talk about the strength of an article, again, we have, let's say, 3 criteria. We have ideas or content, we have the language, and also the organization. So we are going to talk about all these 3 parts. The first, as I said, is the ideas or the content. We say a good text offers clear presentation of the ideas. The ideas must be clearly expressed. By clearly expressing them, it means the content might be suitable for the audience so the audience can understand. And then the organization of even the sentences, which is the coherence, like arrangement of your sentences, the arrangement of your paragraphs can add to, let's say, clarity of your writing. Understanding can be achieved by considering the logic of the ideas. Well, of course, there must be good reasoning when we have conclusions, for example, in the article. And there must be, let's say, enough proof, enough evidence that are based on facts, evidence that people can accept to support your ideas. And we also need to have enough literature to support the presented ideas. By enough literature, we mean all the articles, all the, let's say, books, the journals and things that have previously focused on the subject. We must, let's say, go through them. We must study them. As a writer who's going to write an academic essay, we must focus on them. We must, let's say, collect enough information, and then we must refer to all these sources. That also adds to validity of the ideas and the content.